Hello, welcome back to the channel. So we've got a longer video for you today, taking a weekend break from the bite-sized videos that we've been doing. If you're enjoying those videos, let me know in the comments below what unit you want me to review next. So today we're going to be talking about some synergy with the custom codes and giving each custom code a Planet 40k rating out of 5. Very similar to what we've been doing with the bite-sized videos. So we're going to dive straight into the first list, which is the Dynastic Traditions list. And the first one up is Eternal Conquerors. So you're gaining objectives secured, and the troop choices count as double the amount of models when determining control of an objective marker. Now you lose the Nihilak bonuses, so you lose that bonus where you're removing AP from the weapons if you're within your deployment zone. You're losing the bonus of the stratagem, the relic and the warlord trait of course. However, you have gained a second custom code from the second list, which we're going to go through in a minute, but the strongest option at present has got to be Eternal Conquerors. Objective secured is extremely powerful, not just for your primaries but also for your secondaries as well. A lot of the actions from the secondaries can be completed on your own turn if the unit has got objective secured. And then additionally, using the Protocol of Sudden Storm to continue to shoot while you're doing those actions is pretty nice too. Now when you're considering a pairing for the Eternal Conquerors, the main pairing here is the Relentlessly Expansionist option for that 6-inch pre-game move, or potentially the Ancient Stir if your list is Canoptic heavy. But I prefer the pre-game 6-inch, as you can also get your units into cover if you don't go first, and it just simply means you don't get caught out in deployment as easy. But for the Planet 40k rating, this one's an easy one, it's a 5-star rating. Next we've got the Pitiless Hunters. So instead of the normal rules for rapid fire weapons, if your infantry models did not move, they stay stationary, then you get to fire double the amount of shots at full range as opposed to half range. So this is going to be really good for your Gorse rapid fire weapons really, your Gorse Flayers from your Warriors, Gorse Blasters from your Immortals. Now this Dynasty code is competing with the Mefrit Dynasty code or even the Celtic Dynasty code really. Now I would pair this with either the 6-inch pre-game move, because technically you've not actually moved, so you can get into a better position, get into better range, and then on your actual turn you're not moving at all, so you're getting the rapid fire from full range. Alternatively, Healthy Paranoia for the added 3-inch range to your rapid fire weapons. Now Isolationist is another option, because at half range you're getting a +1 to the strength, so the strength 6 Gorse Blasters at 15-inch isn't too bad. But for the rating I'm going to be giving Pitiless Hunters a 3-star. On to Superior Artisans. So it's a single reroll to the wound rolls, whether you're shooting or fighting. So this one's pretty useful for the one-shot weapons such as your Locust Heavy Destroyers with the Destructors. Where possible, instead of having a unit of 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers, split them into individual models so each one of them gets their own reroll. That's going to save you on command points later in the game. And this code is mainly used for elite models, not so much for the larger units. You're not going to really feel a single reroll to the wound roll with a 20-man warrior blob. But for Superior Artisans, I'm going to go with another 3-star. On to RAD-WREATHED. So this is a 1-inch aura. Pretty much when you're in engagement range of enemy units except for vehicle models, you're going to lower their toughness by 1. So this one is a big one in my opinion, because you can stack this alongside the game-long protocol of Conquering Tyrant, using Directive 1 to add 3 inches to the range of all units' aura abilities. So now all of a sudden you've got a 4-inch bubble for that -1 to toughness, meaning you don't actually need to be within engagement range, therefore the enemy unit can be targeted at range. You can also boost this further with the Fire of the Silent King warlord trait on one of your characters to actually increase that to a 7-inch bubble. So put that on a command barge for example, put that straight up the battlefield. That's quite a large area for a -1 to the toughness. Now I would pair this alongside the 6-inch pre-game move, because you want to get as close as possible to enemy models as early as possible. So for me at the moment, RAD-WREATHED, I'm going to be going with a 4-star. Next on the list we've got the Immovable Phalanx. So when a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to your infantry models with this code, if they stay stationary that battle round, so it's normal moves, advanced moves and fallback moves, then you're going to add 1 to the armor saving throws taken against the attack. So this is better used on a shooty playstyle, as you're less likely going to be moving around the board. Now this isn't a cover save, so it will stack with light cover, so you could in fact get your warriors in cover to have a 2+ armor save here. Now key note here, you get the +1 to your armor save if you haven't moved in this battle round. So going second means you're technically getting this all the time, because nothing's actually moved from your army in that battle round if your opponent has gone first. Also that 6-inch pre-game move is not going to affect this either, because that's not a movement in a battle round. Just remember this only applies to damage 1 weapons, and also note that pile-ins and consolidation moves will not remove the bonus. It's only movement, advanced moves and fallback movements that will remove that bonus there. So I'm going to be giving Immovable Phalanx a 3-star rating. Okay, on to the next one, which is Unyielding. So every model in your code has got a 6+ invulnerable save. So this is mainly used when you've got a high model count Necron warriors, flayed ones, canoptic scarabs, and all the other units that don't have a natural in-run save. Now, not so much on vehicle heavy lists because they've all got quantum shielding, or lists that contain a lot of wraiths or Lichguard with the sword and shields, as you simply do not need it. Also not worth bringing a Chronomancer to these lists because he gives a 5+ invulnerable save, which kind of defeats the purpose of a 6+, but sometimes it is worth paying that 75 points instead of actually using up one of your Dynasty codes with Unyielding. Now this is going to work extra nice with the protocol of Undying Legions for the reroll to the reanimation roll or double living metal just for the extra survivability. For this one I'm going to be giving it a 3.5 star rating. Okay, on to Contemptuous of the codes. When you're attacking a character unit you can add one to the attack's hit rolls. Now in most games this one is going to be a stinker. If you go against a high character count then fine. An army wide version of My Will Be Done is okay I guess, but a lot of the times you've already got My Will Be Done or rerolls of one with the Destroyer Cult units, which is just as good. Now it's not going to have that much effect on our actual killy characters as they already hit on a 2+. Now in competitive games where you have no idea what you're going up against or where you need to build a list to last for the entire tournament, I would just avoid this one, it's not going to be worth it. So I'm going to give this one a 1.5 star rating. Next we've got the Unmerciful Horde. So you get to re-roll your morale tests with this Dynasty code. Another stinker in my opinion. If it was an auto pass then maybe it has some legs to it, but a re-roll when we've already got a leadership value of a 10 anyway is pretty bad. If it was that important to get you guys to pass a morale test, just pay the 2 command points. Failing morale rarely happens with Necrons. It can only really happen with your larger units, but then you've invested in a Technomancer or a Resurrection Orb anyway. Also, failing morale isn't that bad as it was in old editions. One model's going to automatically run, then you've got a 1 in 6 chance of another model running, potentially a 1 in 3, depending on what's left compared to the starting strength of the unit. But yeah, another stinker for me, 1.5 star. Next we've got Masters of the Martial. So you get to reroll a single hit roll for every unit, whether they're shooting or whether they're fighting. So leave this one at home guys, only really useful for elite units again, such as the Locust Heavy Destroyers, but destroyers reroll 1s anyway. And if you're that desperate, just throw a CP in for the reroll, you probably make do with that just fine. Now on larger units it's not going to make any difference whatsoever, you're not going to feel it at all, and if you've got the Silent King in your list, which most of you do at present, you get to do this with nearby core units at range already. However, it's slightly helpful with Tesla weapons, more chances of 6s exploding. But for me, Masters of the Martial, just 2 stars. On to Butchers next, which is simply adding 1 to the charge rolls made for units within this code. So straight from the Novuk playbook here, not too bad for your melee crons. Doubly nice when you're deep striking your flayed ones, or when you've got a Veil of Darkness with the melee units such as your Scorbit Destroyers. Works really well with the protocol of Hungry Void for that +1 to strength on the charge, although this is a Novuk protocol. You may as well just go Novuk at this point. Now if you were to take Butchers, I would pair this with the 6-inch pre-game move again. You want to get your models in as quickly as possible, that's clearly the plan here, but I think you're just better off going with the Novuk code, considering there's a lot of bonuses with the Novuk Dynasty, with the added AP on the charge. There's also the +1 attack stratagem as well with Blood Rights. But for me, this one's middle of the road, it's a 3 star. Next we've got Severed. So I'm actually not going to go through this one because it has been made redundant since the balanced data slate, because we now get army-wide command protocols, we don't need to stay within 6 inches of a character. So getting a 9-inch bubble instead of a 6-inch bubble with a character is completely irrelevant. So let's move on to Vassal Kingdom, which is kind of another one that isn't really relevant. It's just a nice way of saying paint your models in any colour you want and keep the Dynasty code from the main generic 6 Necron Dynasty codes. Just note guys that you cannot pair this code with any other code from the second list. I know a few of you have been doing that. It says at the very top of the custom codes that you cannot do that. You're literally just choosing one of the 6 generic ones and having a different colour scheme. Now before we get into the second list guys, I just wanted to bring your attention to the Magnet Baron. If you don't know who the Magnet Baron are, they're quite simply an online magnet store for your minis. They've got all sorts of different magnets, whether they're posable ones or whether it's for your flyers. Generally models that do fly, they're the ones that tend to break when you're transporting to your tournaments and games. The stands tend to snap. Whereas when you're purchasing one of these magnets from the Magnet Baron, you can simply take apart all your models before you leave your home, go to your game, pop them all back together again, knowing that they're completely safe and not going to snap. Head on over to the Magnet Baron if you haven't already. The link will be down in the description below. That's the Magnet Baron. Let's move on to the second list. So some of these custom codes have already been mentioned within this video, but they've not been rated yet, but we're going to go through them now. The first one is Ancient Stir. So you're adding 1 to the movement characteristics of Canoptic units with this code, and also an extra inch for the piling and consolidation moves. So if you're going Canoptic heavy, this one's not too bad. Now it's going to be competing with the 6-inch pre-game move with Relentlessly Expansionist, and it's not too bad when you're pairing this with the Protocol of Sudden Storm to get the extra inch of movement as well. Now the way I look at this is 5 turns in a game, so that's a maximum movement of 5 from just the movement phase alone, but this one also allows the additional inch of movement in the piling and consolidation move in the fight phase, which could potentially get you additional 2 inches right there. So theoretically, if you charge into combat every single turn, you could potentially gain 15 inches of movement throughout the entire game. Now this is not going to happen. You're quite lucky to get just 6 inches if I'm honest with you, which is why I think the pre-game 6-inch option is just better. But for me, this one's a middle of the road again, 3-star rating. Onto a rise of the interlopers. So when you're making melee attacks against infantry and biker units, unmodified hit rolls of a 6 automatically wound the target. So it's only really usable in your melee crons. No synergy at all with RAD-WREATHED because RAD-WREATHED makes it easier for you to make the wound roll, whereas this code completely skips it altogether when you make a wound roll of a 6. Also, it's no good with the Canoptic Scales because they've actually got this built in with their own attacks. Maybe best paired with the Eternal Conquerors custom code because you're going to be fighting over objectives. Or if you go heavy on flayed ones, then possibly Unyielding for the invulnerable save. For me, another 3-star rating here. Next we've got Healthy Paranoia, adding 3-inch range to all your ranged weapons excluding pistols, so one half of the Mephrit Dynasty's code here. So it's good for your shooting Necrons, it's going to assist with the range of your rapid fire weapons too. So this is a way of combining the Mephrit Dynasty with the Nihilak Dynasty if you like. You can get objectives secured and Healthy Paranoia as a pairing, which is not too bad of a custom option. Alternatively, Pitiless Hunters if you wanted to make better use of the rapid fire weapons, or Immovable Phalanx for the +1 to the save, versus damage 1 weapons if you haven't moved already. But I think using the Mephrit Dynasty is just a better option because you get to use the stratagem which they have, which is Talent for Annihilation, which are almost guaranteed 3 mortal wounds if you throw out enough shots. But yeah, this one's another 3-star rating. So, Relentlessly Expansionist, it's that 6-inch pre-game move, it's got a lot of mentions already in this video. Combine this with Eternal Conquerors as an easy winner. And when you do use that 6-inch pre-game movement on units such as your Doomsday Arcs or your Doomstalkers, again this is not considered as movement because this is pre-game, so you can still fire your high profile weapons. This is also a method of getting your slower moving models like Lichguard onto objectives from turn 1. You can start scoring Treasure of Aeons or even doing actions such as Ancient Machineries. It's going to pretty much pair with any of the options from the first list really, and again works really nice with Protocol and Sunstorm with that +1 inch to your movement. This one's an easy 5-star rating. Next we've got the Isolationists. So when you're using your rapid fire weapons within 12-inch range, you're going to add 1 to the strength characteristics of the attack. So we already mentioned this one earlier when we were talking about Pitiless Hunters. When they stay stationary, the rapid fire gets the full range and Isolationist gets the +1 strength at half range. So it's an easy synchronization there, and these are going to be pretty good buffs for warriors with the Ghost Flayers or immortals with the Ghost Blasters. Now the Isolationist part of the code isn't restricted to just infantry only, so now you can start to include your Ghost Arcs and your Tomb Blades to the mix. It's also going to work really nicely with the Protocol of Vengeful Stars to remove light cover or add some AP on wound rolls of a 6. This one is a 3 out of 5 star. Next we've got the Warrior Nobles. So when your nobles make a melee attack, you get to reroll hit rolls of a 1 and reroll wound rolls of a 1. This one for me is a super stinker. Now there is a fair amount of nobles within the codex, but you're likely only going to be bringing 1 or 2 of them, and the ones you want to bring are likely going to be hitting on a 2+ anyway. And also the Silent King, who's the main noble here, pretty much gives all the rerolls that you kind of need anyway. Now if you did select this, it would help to take the RAD-WREATHED Dynasty code, as it's highly likely that your noble is now hitting on a 2s rerolling and wounded on a 2s rerolling. Maybe going character heavy in the list, this one may pay off, but no, not for me. Only 1 star. Then we're on to the last one, which is Interplanetary Invaders. So this is for your vehicles. They're eligible to fall back and still fire, although it'll be at -1 to hit, or they're eligible to fire their heavy weapons into engagement range without any penalties incurred. So it's a guaranteed way of getting our vehicles that have the blast weapons to actually fire, although it will be at a -1 to hit. Unfortunately, they have now moved, so you're going to be using the lower profile. Now sadly, this isn't going to work with your Triax Stalkers because they don't gain any Dynasty codes. And also it's just become less useful since the balanced data slate due to having the option of the all-game fall back and shoot protocol with the Conquering Tyrant. But if you had other ideas with your protocols and you are vehicle heavy, then this could be a fair option, but not for me. I'm giving it a 1.5 star rating. So guys, that's the custom codes all dealt with today. Let me know your best combinations down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.